Welcome to Heart on the Table, a tarot-inspired podcast for mothers, healers, and humans in the messy middle of becoming.
Two therapists, two moms, one card at a time.
Every other week, we pull a tarot or oracle card
and explore its symbolism through the lenses of trauma healing, attachment theory, motherhood, and intuitive wisdom.
Together, we weave our clinical therapy knowledge
with personal connections to motherhood, spirituality, magic, and womanhood.
Reflecting on what it means to mother yourself and others
across timelines, triggers, and transformations.
I'm Bree Levitt, licensed clinical social worker.
And I'm Miranda Peterson, licensed clinical social worker.
It's part sacred space,
part cozy couch chat.
Expect laughter, insight, and a whole lot of heart. Welcome back to our podcast. We are Heart on the Table. We are so excited to be recording today because it is nice to know that people have listened.
Yes, it's been so much fun to just watch all of the comments come through and all of the feedback come through.
Yeah.
It just really feels like this is going to be something magical, that it's going to create a community of people to find connection, to find validation, to find a corner of healing.
Yes. I'm so excited.
Me too.
It's been awesome to see the reviews come in from the podcast too. I think we made it to 24 Apple reviews last night, which was just awesome. I just feel so grateful. Mm-hmm. We put a lot of hard work into pulling this off. Truly, it wasn't that easy to figure this all out. So it's nice to know that we're onto something. I'm excited. If you're enjoying the podcast so far, please leave us a review on Spotify, YouTube, Apple, just wherever you're listening, just because it is truly so helpful to get this podcast out to more ears and more of a community, which is exactly what we're hoping this to be.
So last week we released 2 episodes at once. We did a surprise early episode release for our introductory episode on, I believe it was the Sunday.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
And that went so well. And then we released 2 episodes at the same time a few days later on Wednesday. And we are going to be releasing them every Wednesday from here on out. Last week it was the Fool and the Magician, which were cards 0 and 1 of the Major Arcana. And today it's going to be card number 2, which is the High Priestess. This is one of my favorite cards.
I knew it would be. I texted Miranda and I was like, you're going to love this week. Because yes. I'm like, these 2 cards are, I think, what you were very passionate about talking about when it comes to womanhood.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. It is one that has shown up for me a lot in the last 10 years. So this is one that I'm really excited to talk about. Did you want to look at it first?
Yeah, I'll look at it first. Okay. So looking at the High Priestess card today, the first thing that stands out to me is the moons. Her crown is very much a lunar, I think it's supposed to be the lunar cycle, right? Where we have the 2 crescent moons and then the full moon in the middle. And then I noticed the moon at the bottom of her feet. I noticed her cloaks, her whole body is cloaked in this blue colored robe. She's holding a scroll, and that scroll is also kind of tucked into her robe, I notice. And then we have the black and white pillars that she's sitting between. So there's one that's black on one side with a B, and the B is white. And then on the other side, we have the white pillar, and there's a J, and the J is black. And then behind her, she has that thing. It's a tapestry, kind of like we have sitting behind us. It's a tapestry. There's pomegranate fruit is what it looks like on them. Pomegranate, they kind of look like raspberries, but I do know that they are pomegranate from my research. They are pomegranates. And then behind her and behind this tapestry and the pillars, I can see there's water. There's the ocean behind her. She also looks very serious. She looks calm. She looks inquisitive, I would say, is kind of the vibe on her face.
That's a good word.
Inquisitive. Yeah. Mm-hmm. What do you see?
What I see when I look at this card is much of the same things, right? I notice the pillars stand out to me right away. One is black and the other is white. One has the letter B on it, one has the letter J on it. And I guess while I'm talking about the pillars, we'll just jump right into that. But I remember from just this card popping up in my life a long time ago, the B stands for Boaz and the J stands for, I believe it's pronounced Yakin.
I think you're right.
Which are two names that stood on the pillars outside the entrance to King Solomon's temple. B for Boaz is in his strength, and J on the white pillar for Yakin is he will establish. The pillars, especially being in contrast with black and white, is the light and dark, the duality of light and dark. And that too plays into the wisdom between knowing and not knowing, right? The intuition versus the subconscious. The next thing that comes to mind when I look at this card is the sort of crown that she's wearing. Like, it looks like 2 half moons and 1 full moon in the middle. And that is really, to me, stands out as like the triple goddess.
Tell me more.
Yes. So the half moon, the full moon, and the other crescent half moon. It's referred to in myth and story as the triple goddess, and that shows up in all kinds of different stories. But the one that is easiest for me to remember and bring up today is in Greek mythology, the triple goddess is the maiden, the mother, and the crone. So 3 different phases of a woman's life. The maiden, before she is introduced to the world or has any sort of understanding about the world around her, to the mother, which is nurturing and focused on creativity and bringing things to fruition. And then the crone, which is having the knowledge of all of that and being able to give that back to younger people,
Sure.
the village or whatever, the world. So that is really what stands out to me and what resonates a lot. I also see the pomegranates on the tapestry behind her, and I believe pomegranates also have a really symbolic meaning.
That's what I was
into.
reading.
I know that the scroll that she has tucked into her robes also it's got some letters on it. I believe it's Tora.
Yes.
And then again, just the moon at her feet stands out to me, the crescent moon. I'm also noticing that the number 2, the Roman numeral 2, is also like the 2 pillars on this card.
Oh, you're right, actually.
Yeah.
I didn't notice that myself, but I do remember reading about that. Mm-hmm.
Yes. I'm so excited to talk about this one today.
I know you are. Do we want to go into like some of the meanings behind some of the things that we're picking up on here? Like the pomegranates.
Let's do that. So again, like the pillars, right? The B for Boaz and the J for Joaquin. I'm seeing here that the B represents strength and a connection to the physical world or the masculine and the conscious mind. Whereas the white pillar with the J on it signifies establishment or spiritual understanding of the feminine or the subconscious mind. Oh. So again, it's that duality to the both of them.
Yes. I was thinking of them too very much as just like the yin and yang. And I was trying to study the cards and looking at them and just thinking about how we need both.
Yes.
Right? Like we need both to feel complete.
Yes, I love that. And I think a lot of the time too, like people tend to be rejective or suppressive of one or the other, right? Just because of the culture that we live in. I think for women, I can speak for myself. As a woman, we tend to try to focus more on our masculine side, right? Because that is what's valued in society. We tend to lose connection with our more feminine side or our intuition. We tend to override our intuition in a lot of cases, right? Like we have this gut feeling, but we ourselves have trained ourselves to override that in favor of something that makes logical sense to the outside.
You know what this makes me think of? And this may be like jumping ahead, but I'm just going to do that.
Do it.
Because when I was reading about this card and I was thinking, I think it was something in the book Descent and Rising that you recommended that I read. When I was thinking about how as women, most of us are disconnected from our intuitive wisdom. or our inner wisdom or even our more feminine side. And I was thinking about like, where do we learn that? When did I learn that? Right? And like, I don't know when. I think it's just an overarching message that is just present in our society. And I think most of us probably maybe don't have like a specific instance of when we learned to disconnect from our own intuition. I think the message and the socialization is just there. But I was thinking very much about a period as a woman. And I'm like, I feel like as a woman, that is when I could very easily mark like learning that I was gross.
Yes.
Right? That like my body doing its natural cycle, right? Like doing what it's supposed to, shedding its lining, that being like something that I had to be ashamed of. I remember, I'm going to talk about my first fucking period. Is that weird? I'm going to talk about it.
Not
because
at all.
it's not weird because that's what we're trying to do here. The first time I had my first period, I was in the 6th grade. And I do remember actually like it happening and me feeling some pride. Like, oh my gosh, I'm a big girl now, you know? And I remember I went to the bathroom and like all of my friends, I had a couple friends who came with me in 6th grade and they were like, oh my gosh, like you need to call your mom, right? But I remember like feeling a sense of urgency, like, oh my gosh, I need to call my mom and get out of here because like, what if I bleed all over? What if I make a mess? What if I, right? Like you don't know what's going to happen because I don't think anybody really teaches us what to expect about our own bodies as women. So I remember calling my mom and trying to be like really quiet on the phone because I was in 6th grade. There was no cell phone. Well, there were cell phones. They were not what they are today. I had to use like the classroom phone. And I remember being like really quiet, trying to tell my mom like, Mom, you need to come pick me up. And she was like, what's wrong? And I was like, well, I started my period. Like just trying to be really quiet. All this to say, like, I just remember instances over and over again where like I would carry like pads in my backpack when I was in like 6th grade, right? Like just in case. But I remember those had to be a secret. Why? Like why the most natural thing as a woman that like what makes us women is the shedding of the lining, right? Like having a period. Why the fuck was I told that my pads and my tampons in my life all the way up through my adulthood until I was like, I'm not hiding my tampon walking from my desk at eBay to the bathroom.
Yeah.
I don't care if anyone sees me holding my tampon. Like, yes, I'm having a period. I just get really passionate about that one because I'm just like, that is where I feel like most women are taught to be ashamed of themselves, ashamed of being a woman, and ashamed of our bodies.
Yes.
And I think that connects to this card. I think. I
Yes.
mean, like, because I'm like, that is intuitive wisdom. That is listening to our bodies. And we're told to be ashamed of it.
Yes.
Anyway, that's my 2 cents.
I love that you shared that, and I think it fits perfectly. I also had a very similar experience. Like I remember being in, I think it was 5th and 6th grade that you could go to what they called the maturation class.
God, get me started on maturation in Utah, especially.
I had no concept of like what a proper education was, but I remember being so excited about going to this class. Like there was some part of like an initiation, right? Like you would hope. I know. It fell incredibly short of my expectations.
God, yes. Same.
Which sparked my own curiosity, which wasn't a good thing.
As it does.
But I remember just intuitively, right? Like knowing this was a crossing of a threshold or like this was an initiation. Like I was being trusted with this knowledge of some kind. And I remember that being really important. Again, like the class itself fell incredibly short.
It was so bad.
Just like my sort of, I would almost call it like a hunger for this knowledge, like this hunger about who am I?
Right. Which is so normal. That age to be curious about who are we?
Yeah. But again, too, like I remember starting my first period as well. And like all throughout, I was in the 7th grade, but like all throughout junior high, anytime I wasn't prepared and I had to call home, like my dad worked from home, which was incredibly like convenient and just it was beneficial growing up. And I remember like calling and asking like, will you like, I mean, having to ask my dad to bring me a pad. Yeah. He's a sweetheart, thank God. But like, I remember specifically telling him like, I don't know, put it in a bag or something and like find something to put it in, right? So like I don't have to walk into class holding a bunch of pads. Like I remember that.
Secret. I remember when I worked at eBay, there was a friend of mine who asked me if I had like a tampon or a pad, right? And at this point in my life, I was already sort of rejecting, I was already feeling like very rejectful of patriarchy. I mean, I've always kind of been that way, right? But like at this point, I was probably in my early 20s. And I was like, she was like, do you have a pad? Do you have a tampon? And I was like, oh yeah, like I think just whip it right out, right? Like, here you go. And she was like, like, hide. And I was like, girl, you get a period. Like, we are adults. You do not have to walk down the fucking hallway hiding that tampon. That's crazy. That's crazy. But like, yes, that, like, I think that just that is what I kept thinking about with with the high priestess and inner wisdom. Because that is the first, I really think for most women, that's the first place that we're taught to disconnect from that. Like our own womanhood, what it means to be female, what it means to be a woman. And we're taught like, ooh, keep that secret, hide that, right? Like, don't let anybody know. Like, if you leak through your pants, my God, the world is ending because you have a little blood on your pants. When it's like, I'm sorry. Like, that is what it means to be a woman. And sometimes being a woman is messy. And there's going to be blood on my pants because I wasn't ready for my period. Yes. That for me, that's just what really kept coming up for me. Like when I was asking myself, when did I learn to disconnect from my own feminine side?
Yes. And I think too, I'm noticing just as like I'm in like my later 20s that like that is something that I think the women in my life want to know more about. Like I've heard several times now from a couple of different girlfriends where they're like, I'm in my luteal phase. And to be honest, I don't even know if I know.
Me neither.
Like I'd love to know.
Me neither. This is a
what
new
the
thing
phases or the cycles are.
where women are beginning to talk about, like, I'm in my luteal phase. And I'm like, shit, I need to. I was just thinking that the other day, like, I need to learn what that means. I'm not even connected to that.
That I think is, you know, something that we can reclaim for ourselves, like, and turn it into something empowering. Right. And knowing about, well, what part of my cycle am I in right now? And really reconnecting to that intuition. I was just thinking, I saw something the other day on TikTok about, I can't remember what culture it was, but it was about periods. And it was like when a woman gets her period for the first time, right, there's like this celebration, like her mom, her grandma, right, whoever is in her life, like they go, I remember the video being specifically like they went to a body of water and like washed the underwear in the water.
Ooh, I like that.
And there was something so empowering about like this marks, you know, a crossing of a threshold. Like you are now able to create life, and that's important. And that means that the generational line will continue, and it was something to be celebrated.
Yeah.
Rather than something to be
ashamed
of and kept quiet. And
I remember when I did get my first period, my mom did go to the store and put together like a little basket of fun things. She put like pads in a little basket. I think she got me like some body sprays, some like, I think maybe some chocolate. Like she did come home and like give me this little gift basket, which I think was significant. Like I don't think I realized in that moment how significant that was, but I have been thinking back to that a lot of just like, my mom isn't the one who taught me to be ashamed
right.
of period. Like she was like, here's this gift basket. Like you got your period. But I think that also speaks to the shame around being a woman didn't necessarily start in my home. And I think that speaks to how much greater society does have an impact on us, right? Like even if I have a buffer of some of those things directly in my home, it's amazing how much internalized misogyny I am still wrestling with as a woman.
Yes. And I think now that you mention it, I believe that like my mom did something similar for me.
Yeah.
And you're right. Like it didn't come from inside the home. It was just this more externalized socialization that like nobody knew. Right. Keep that to yourself.
I know my mom is listening. Both of our moms are listening. So I just want to emphasize, Mom, I'm going to talk about you on the podcast, but like you were a good mom. You did your best. I love you. Okay. Don't stress. Okay. My mom needs to know that. You did a wonderful job. Okay. Anyway, where did we get off on that? Was it duality? Was
Yeah.
it?
Well, and I think it applies. And I don't think that there's a space
Okay.
for this to be talked about in general. So I'm glad that we took some time to talk about that.
Because I think that connects back to the High Priestess and inner wisdom. And I was reading in that book, the Descent and Rising book.
Yes.
Like when she was talking all about periods. And I was like, oh my God, she is so right.
Yes. Okay. I'm going to tie this in.
Okay.
Ready? So back to the 2 half crescent moons on either side of the full moon, the maiden, mother, crone. This applies.
It does.
It's a metaphor for the phases of a woman's life.
Yes.
The cycles of nature, particularly in the moon and the seasons. And that's, I think, I was reading something. Maybe it was in Descent and Rising.
Probably that book's really
That the calendar, oh no, I actually think it was something I saw on Instagram. But the calendar year actually used to be 13 months. It was created off of a woman's cycle.
That makes sense.
Like that is how time was tracked. So the maiden embodies youth and wisdom, or the youth and new beginnings, which is the waxing moon on the left-hand side. And then the mother represents fertility and caregiving, which is the full moon in the middle. And then the crone symbolizes a wisdom, endings, and transformation, which is the waning moon on the right side. The maiden representing innocence, new beginnings, youth, enchantment, and potential is also associated with spring, the waxing, growing moon in the beginning of one's life journey. The mother symbolizing fertility, nurturing, abundance, stability, and the fullness of life is associated with summer, the full moon, and the height of woman's power-giving nature. And the crone symbolizing wisdom, repose, endings, death, and rebirth is associated with autumn and winter, and the waning or the diminishing moon, the culmination of life lessons and experience. So overall, it's just this really broader significance of the cycle of life and the continuous like life, death, and rebirth. And I think that, I mean, we spoke about this and I think it was the last episode, but that being in a dark space, I brought it up in terms of like, we're in the womb, right? We're in a dark space and then we're born. But that doesn't mean that that cycle stops happening. Like it happens again and again and again over the course of our life for different reasons and on different like scales. But this life, death, rebirth cycle is, I think, one that like I try to live really close to, right? Because nothing stays the same and nothing's ever meant to stay the same. And we have to find our way through this cycle for anything new to happen, for any transformation to take place, right? There is a point at which something does have to shed itself or die, essentially, metaphorically, in order for something new to take its place, right? Old habits, old patterns have to be shed in order for new habits to take their place.
Yeah.
Patterns.
And I really like that she wears this as a crown. She wears this message like first thing on her head, right? I think that we can be it's very common to live in denial of that cycle, that life is constant, things are always changing, that life is a cycle. Everything is cyclical. Nothing is ever going to stay the same no matter how much we grasp for it too, right? So I like that like awareness, which I think like also speaks to we have to have that awareness and the acceptance of things being cyclical in nature in order for us to connect back to our inner wisdom and our quiet. When things are the whole like death, rebirth, and life cycle, right? Like if we are living in denial of all of that, well, we are living in denial of our inner wisdom. We have to have awareness of really difficult things and we have to lean into those in order to be connected to what our internal is trying to tell us. If we live in denial, well, we're never going to be willing to listen to our inner wisdom. Some of our inner wisdom might be painful to listen to, but that doesn't mean that it's not worthwhile. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And I think back to like the cyclical nature of it all, I think we tend to, in society and in our culture, we tend to want a linear model,
Oh my God,
right?
yes.
Like we just go up.
Yeah.
And back to, I think what we've said before in the last couple episodes is that healing is not linear. I mean, that's a pretty cliche saying, right?
I mean,
Healing
it's
is
literally
not linear.
hanging on my therapy office wall over there. So yeah, pretty cliche.
Word
Cliche
for
enough
word,
it made
actually.
it in here. Yeah.
But most people, when they come to therapy, they just want to feel better, but they don't often understand that you have to kind of start from zero.
Yeah.
And you might have to come back to the zero. I mean, when we talked about the story of the major arcana, the Fool can go anywhere in this journey. And I think it can fit in multiple times. You will always have to come back to zero. Always have to come back to yourself, to your center.
Recognizing too that each time that we come back to zero, well, we have a whole cycle to go through again and the opportunity to learn new things over and over and over again, right? Like it was like in whatever episode last week, we were talking about how I kept saying, I love when we look at the cards. And I mostly was fascinated because we had recorded like the first episode, I think just twice, like the Fool, I think we did it twice. Like speaking to going back to zero and learning new things each time you come through a life cycle, right? Like even if that cycle is painful, I mean, that is exemplified in each time, even in just like a few weeks, we look at the cards and we take in something different. We notice something different. We take in something different. Like,
Yes. And I can't remember if I mentioned it in one of the earlier episodes or not, but the idea of the circle. I mean, the circle and the spiral, right? Like there's a symbol in, I think it's Greek mythology, where it's the Ouroboros and it's the snake eating itself,
okay, yeah,
right? It's a constant cycle of like shedding or renewal, right? The spiral is such a powerful image or symbol because it's found in everywhere. Like it's found in nature.
I
When you look at
know.
like some of the
Yes.
shells or some of the plants or even like microscopically, like the spiral is everywhere. There's a really cool visual with the spiral. From the top, it might look like you're going in circles, but if you were to turn and kind of stretch the spiral up, you'd actually realize that you were coming closer to the center. I mean, it might feel like you're going around and around and around again, but each time you do that, you are doing so from a new perspective. You're learning the same things, but you're learning them again and again from a different previous perspective, which then gives you a new perspective, which I think goes back to the same cycle, the life, death, rebirth cycle.
Yeah. You know what else I think is like I'm just thinking about and looking at the card is like the tapestry that is hung up behind her. I feel like the tapestry is very intentional because it's almost as if like this woman has gone and hung up that tapestry in order to like block out what's behind her and just kind of like connect into like take the space to connect to herself. And I know there's like significance with what's on the tapestry too. Like I think I read that the tapestry is like the pomegranates are the tree of life, aren't they?
I believe so. Yes.
But I feel just like one of the questions we asked on our Instagram yesterday was, which apologies, I freaking put all those cute little questions and surveys on there. And then I didn't take a screenshot of the answers. So I don't know what anyone's answers were. But I can also remember that there was like a theme. Anyway, one of my questions was just like asking, do you often take time to just like sit? Like, do you struggle to take space to sit quietly and tune into yourself? Or are you like always on the go? Right. And I think for the most part, everyone responded like, I struggle to slow down. Okay. For some reason, I was like, I find quiet. No, I don't. I don't know why I answered that question that way. I was looking back at the responses and I was like, I mean, ideally, I would find quiet. And I will say, before I had children, maybe that was more prevalent in my life. And I'm like, I think that maybe the reason why I answered yes is because I think I am intentional about carving out space to like go do things. Anyway, I don't have time to like sit and connect with myself, and neither do any of you. So that's something that was very clearly a struggle. And on this card, I think that we're seeing the importance of doing that.
Yep.
And I think just doing that as mothers, as women, right? Like, I know that there's some significance in the tapestry that she's hung up behind herself being like the tree of life. Do you have any like details on that?
I believe you're right.
I'm going to look it up. The veil behind the High Priestess represents the boundary between the seen and the unseen worlds. It separates conscious reality from the subconscious mystery and spiritual truth. She sits right at this threshold, a guardian to deeper wisdom. It's often decorated with pomegranates and palm trees. Pomegranates represent feminine fertility cycles, hidden seeds of potential, also linked to Persephone in the underworld. The palms represent victory, eternal life, and resilience. It suggests that sacred knowledge is hidden but available. The veil isn't an impenetrable wall. It can be lifted when you're ready, symbolizing inner knowing becoming conscious. I like that.
I do like that.
That's what I was trying to get at. Like, this can very easily be moved when she wants to move it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I wanted the stuff about the tree of life. It says the veil is patterned with pomegranates arranged to echo the tree of life from Jewish mysticism, the Kabbalah. The tree of life is a map of spiritual evolution from the divine down into the material world. It's a reminder that wisdom flows from source down into lived experience, and that the High Priestess sits at that threshold between higher consciousness and everyday reality. The tree of life can represent the journey from potential to creation, from seed to fruit, and from maiden to mother, like you were saying. It suggests lineage and how we pass down wisdom or break cycles as we grow into our new identities.
I love that. I like what you were saying, like the meaning behind the tapestry being able to be moved. This high priest has almost a 1 foot in and a 1 foot out of this world, right? The capacity or the understanding to go with that intuition and also act with the knowledge that she has, and choosing when to move that veil, to choose when to walk with 1 foot intuitively and 1 foot logically, with 1 foot in the light and 1 foot in the dark, like, and to balance the two of that. One thing that came up as you were talking about the Instagram responses and whether or not people make time to connect with themselves, right? And answering one way and reflecting maybe that's not the reality.
Yeah. This Brianna Levitt? No, she doesn't do that.
I mean, different perspective, different day, but
different moment.
Like, and I think tying that back to, I said something earlier about, past me would have really beat myself up for not making space. I think I had said something about I need to make space for silence or make time to sit in silence.
Mm-hmm.
I want to create time for that in a way that's significant for me, right? Like, I want to create some kind of a ritual for myself, which at some point in my day will mark, this is the time that I'm taking for myself for whatever, however long, the next 5 minutes, the next 30 minutes, and marking that with some sort of an action or some sort of like lighting incense or sitting in the same spot, or really making it about building that space, that time, carving out that space in that time. Almost like going to therapy too. Like when you drive to the therapy office, like it's a ritual.
It is a ritual.
Like
the best one.
Have that time. You're getting ready to sit in that space. And I think when it becomes, I have to make this a habit, or I have to make this part of my schedule, or have to, right? Shoulds, I have to. That's when like the magic disappears.
Yeah. I like that.
Is when it becomes more of like a schedule instead of like a I have to or I should. Then it loses the energy, the magic.
The magic
to
That's
it.
what I was going to say. We need to give ourselves grace, right? Would it be Well, I'm going to go backwards. You said even if it's just for 5 minutes, making it like a scheduled thing. I can't tell you how often I'm telling clients, like, even for just 5 minutes, hell, maybe just one, like as we're starting, right? Like maybe you intentionally. I'm thinking of a 1 minute ritual. I have the How You Feel app on my phone. Do you have that app?
Mm-mm.
Have you heard of it?
No?
Oh my God, it's so good.
Tell
I
me.
tell all my clients to download it. You should get it.
Okay.
It's free. This is like they're not telling, we don't have any sponsors yet. So this isn't me trying to sell this app to anyone. But the How You Feel app, it's so awesome. Even that is just like a 1 minute ritual of just like, ugh. And I get a notification on my phone from the app that it's just like, how are you feeling? Check in. And sometimes I hit do it, sometimes I don't. But like the times that I do, it is me taking literally like 10 seconds to just like connect to myself and be like, you know what? How am I doing right now?
Mm-hmm.
And that is enough to begin to connect back to our inner wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
We do not have to start at this like 30-minute, we go out and buy all the things to set up a little space in our home. It doesn't have to be that big.
Mm-hmm.
It can just be about, hey, sure, I'm actually going to not like just close the notification on how you feel. And I'm actually going to tap in for 5 seconds and just question, like, how am I doing today? How am I doing right now? And it's interesting when I do that because it gives me some insight that I wouldn't have had otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
And I really just take 5 seconds. It doesn't have to be big. A ritual can start at 5 seconds. It doesn't have to be this big ordeal. And that is what progress looks like.
Mm-hmm. That's how you build a relationship with your intuition.
Yes.
I mean, you can't sit down and expect your intuition to tell you all sorts of things if you're not listening to it.
If you've never listened to it, you're going to be sitting there like, hey, like, what am I listening for?
Yeah.
Right? Like, we take the babyest of steps in order to build that relationship. Some of you on the things that I had posted on Instagram, one of them too was like, do you want to learn how to like reclaim that intuition? And some of you just said like, I don't even know how. I don't even know where to begin. And I mean, that is where you begin. And I think people just get caught up on like, well, how could that really be making a difference? How that feels insignificant. I'm going to check in on this little app for 5 seconds. Yes, you are. Because that is where it starts.
Mm-hmm.
Think about how noisy and how busy. I mean, all of us said we struggle to like slow down. Think about how noisy, how busy, how crazy our day-to-day is, and how interrupting that just a little bit makes a difference in reclaiming our relationship to ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Like just disrupting it just a tiny bit.
Yeah. I have really been paying attention to how that happens for me. And yes, like slowing down, checking in. I mean, historically, it's been going to therapy. And historically, it's been spending time in nature. And historically, it's been practicing the intentional quiet. And in the busy schedule that is my life these days, I genuinely do not like my phone. So yeah. I will spend more time on my phone than I want. But I don't know, somehow I've trained my algorithm on TikTok to sometimes these videos will come up that just kind of like jolt me back into the present moment. I saw one the other day. It felt very connecting to this random TikTok I watched for all of 45 seconds. But let me tell you, I was in tears.
Is that the one you sent me?
I think so.
I need to watch it.
Okay. I'll tell you about it. It was this video of this dad who had written just 45 seconds, I think, of this song from the perspective of his 3-year-old.
Should we just watch it? I'm going to watch it.
Okay, let's do it.
I'm going to pull it up. See? So they can hear it. Okay, I'm like, which of the 5 TikTok accounts did you send it to? I think you sent it to this one.
So I wrote this song yesterday from the perspective of my 3-year-old. He tells me the best part, we could have the best time.
Oh God. Yeah, I'll like clip it so we're not like stealing his thing for our sound. Okay, what are you gonna say?
Falling.
About it?
It's moments like that. Again, like I'm grateful somehow I've trained my algorithm to show me things
Yeah.
like that. But like when it jolts me back into the present moment of like, that's what matters. That's what matters to me.
Right. What matters to you is the question we should all be asking ourselves to connect with our inner like wisdom.
Yeah.
What matters to us? What actually matters, right? Like you saw that video and you're able to ask ourselves or like recognize like that is what matters and like get back to it, right? Like the importance of being able to slow down and ask ourselves that question, like what matters? Also, that video really gets me because every weekend morning, Charlie asks my husband, her dad, right? Daddy, you're staying home today, right? You don't have to work today because she loves her dad so much. She's a freaking daddy's girl.
I just come back to, for me, myself, in this moment, intuitively, this podcast feels so aligned. I am really trying to make room in my life for what feels aligned, even though I know that means sacrificing some of my time.
Same.
You and I meet every Sunday morning, every other Sunday morning, and that's time that we are spending away from our families. But it is time well worth spent creating this and putting it out into the world and having other people resonate with it or find meaning in it or find belonging, healing, whatever it is that they're looking for in it, and sharing that feedback with us. I think that cycle of just, this is impactful.
Yes.
This is meaningful. And this intuitively feels right. And I'm just making more space for that in my life, following that alignment or that spark or
what
whatever.
matters.
Yeah.
Like what matters. And that is connecting to your inner wisdom, is being able to ask yourself, what matters to me? And how do I get more of that? How do I do more of that? How do I show up with more of that? Right? Like, and I think society does a really good job at keeping us. I've always said, like, I think that all of the things in our society do such a good job at keeping, not only women. I think that women are very much, what I'm trying to say, we're all disconnected, right? And I think as women, like living in a patriarchal society, it does impact us far greater than it does men. That's my feelings. But I always say, like, if we connected to our intuition and our inner wisdom, what would have to change? Something would have to change. Look at the society that we're living in right now. If we all collectively sat with the what the fuck that our inner wisdom is like flagging for us right now, like something would come from that. And that is why society is so good at continuing to pump things out that keep us disconnected from what matters.
Does society,
Exactly.
they benefit from our disconnection. And that's why, you can't change the world, but you can change yourself. And if you change yourself, you can change someone else.
Right.
And it therefore will have a ripple effect and everything will change.
Yep.
But it starts with you. Okay. One more thing. I'm not sure if it fits at the end of this episode,
Okay.
but especially my personal connection to this card, but it all kind of fits together is what I'm trying to say. I think as women too, collectively, the experiences that we are devalued for our intuition, right? Or that our voices don't matter as much because our own intuition plays a big part into what we know. And I think we're taught, again, to disconnect from that, to devalue that ourselves. And part of why this card is so important to me is because it showed up at a time in my life when I didn't value my own voice. I didn't value what I had to say because I didn't think it was important. And so I wasn't sharing that, which I think is why this podcast is so important to me. Because
and look at you now.
I know. Because even though it's just you and I in this room, right? Like a few days from now, we'll release this episode. And
Yeah.
maybe right now I don't have to think about the fact that there are going to be lots of people that hear me. More people than I probably think about in my head. But I think just this card is a collective experience of womanhood as a whole. Like, women tend to not speak up or not share because their intuition is devalued. or their collective knowing is devalued. And I think it's empowering to talk about this card and to reclaim that for myself. And, every woman out there can reclaim that for themselves and just watch how empowering that is, how transformative that is.
I have seen you ease so much since we first started this podcast. You look so much more comfortable. You look less like you are kind of like questioning your next thing.
Yeah.
Like questioning the next thing that you have to say. Like you're just like spitballing. And I love it.
Rolling with it.
Yes, I can tell.
I love that. Thank you.
Yeah.
That is just validation.
Yeah.
It also brings me back to, I believe we mentioned it in our introductory episode, but that like little therapist night that we had and how it came to light that a lot of us there had like thyroid issues, for example, because we don't speak our truth.
I was saging everybody's thyroid at our therapist night.
Yes, and I think our body retains that, right? Like reconnecting to how we're feeling, what we know. And so oftentimes, I can't tell you the number of times I want to say something and I don't, and it gets stuck in my throat. Quite literally, there's like a frog in my throat because I hold back what I don't say.
It's like showing up in the body. Yeah. No, thank you for sharing. I think it sounds like you just doing this is powerful. It kind of makes me wonder because you were the one who was like, we should start a podcast. I'm surprised. So part of me does kind of want to ask, just before we move to maybe challenging our listeners and stuff, what made you suggest we should start a podcast that day?
Have we shared like why we were meeting that day? Should I give some background to it?
I want you to give your background, like your story on it.
All right.
Because like as you're getting a little more eased into this, I can tell you're being a little more like vulnerable, like it's showing up more. So like, yeah, tell me your story.
Sure. I can't remember how many times we'd had coffee before that, but anyways, we got together for coffee. I had been texting Bree earlier in the week just about some struggles that I was going through just career-wise. And really, I know the direction that I want my career to take, right? And I have seen that as my end goal since I started going to school. Oh man, I am tying in so many things to this. When I went to school to be a social worker, I knew I wanted to be a therapist. And I knew I wanted to have my own practice. And I knew I wanted to have flexibility. I knew I wanted to be in charge of my own schedule. I knew that was what I wanted it to look like. And so here we are. I don't know how many years it's been.
4 since we graduated our master's program.
Okay. 4 years and
almost 5.
Wow, time flies.
I know.
And it was about a year and a half ago, maybe a year ago, that I really took some of the like first steps to starting my own practice. And I wished I would have done it sooner.
Yeah.
Isn't that just like the general consensus for that's how when I come across something today, I'm like, oh, I'll get to it. But I tell myself I'm going to wish I did this sooner. Like, why not now?
Yeah.
Why not now? Like, what am I waiting for? Anyway, so I took some of those steps a year ago to just kind of like legally set everything up. It's been a struggle. Like, I wish they had some kind of a class that taught you how to run your own business, because it's hard.
We don't really get that in our master's program. If anything, it's the contrary, where they're like, stay in community mental health. Yeah. Stay in the hard, stay in the grit of it all. Like, you're not going to make money in this field. Yeah. So a field primarily comprised of women. I should also just throw into there in this podcast episode. Anyway, continue.
That's a good point. Anyways, so I was just having I can't even remember exactly what I was worried about that week, but I had shared some of those thoughts and feelings with you, and you were just very like reassuring, and you spoke from your own experience, and you had told me that I think you'd asked me, have you ever, do you know about oracle cards or tarot cards? And I was like, yeah, like I know about it. Like historically, I've gathered my own meaning from them. Like I had never actually been to like a tarot reading or an oracle reading, but like I know that they're valuable and I like see the value in them. And so you brought them to coffee. I believe it was Sunday.
Yep.
Sunday. And we sat in like the back corner of the coffee shop and you did an oracle reading for me. And you just like laid them all on the table and there were different layouts.
Yeah. I know what
How
you're
would
talking
you
about.
describe
When you do like tarot readings or oracle readings, there's different
formation?
spread.
Spreads.
It's called a spread.
Okay.
So there were different spreads.
So it means like
We did the Celtic cross spread. That's what we did.
in different
Different
spots
positions
and
and
different themes depending on what card it was. And so, anyways, Bree laid out my spread for me, and every card you flipped over, like I either did cry or I wanted to cry. There were tears in my eyes. Like it was so meaningful and resonated so well and was exactly what I needed to hear. And I just remember feeling like my heart was so full. Like
I'm
that
getting
was
emotional.
what I needed. And you
Yeah.
showed up that day and provided that for me. And we just really connected over that oracle reading.
Yeah, we did.
And so that I think was when I was like, we should just start a podcast about this.
Yeah.
And I think for me, again, just being in this room with one other person is like really easy to do. Like if our audience was sitting in front of us, that would be a bit more challenging. I promise I'll get there someday.
I'm like the polar opposite. I'd be thriving. I just love that shit.
Yeah.
I love it.
Which is why this works so well.
It absolutely is why it works so well.
Because
Yep.
like your strengths are complementary
Yes.
to like mine.
Yep.
Which I think we have talked about, like eventually wanting to put together some sort of monthly lunar like
Event.
event with this podcast. So
Yeah.
one day we will get there and it should be so much fun.
Yes.
And if you remember this podcast episode at that point, I mean, this is me just being very vulnerable. But
Yes.
again, I mean, that feels aligned very close to my heart. So it's the right direction.
And it sounds like it is part of like you just being on this podcast is also part of your work in like reclaiming your voice.
Yes.
Yeah. Putting it out there, like putting it in the world because it does belong in the world.
Yeah, which is scary. Like I'll admit, and I listened to those episodes again this last week, and I was like, before I listened to them, I was like, do I really want to listen to this? Like, do I really want to hear myself talk?
Yeah. And you did.
I did
Good.
listen to it, and I was okay with it.
My God. I mean, you have amazing things that you like. When I was listening to them, I was like, oh, that was good. Yes.
So
Thank you for sharing. I think that that's the High Priestess.
this is a very long episode.
It is a longer episode, but I think it's good. And I think it being a longer episode as we're pivoting into these two cards about like women and like that is what these cards are.
Yes.
And more than anything, like women have the right to connect to their inner wisdom. And then a little foreshadowing into the next episode, like women have a right to take up space and create and like make things beautiful and grow things. So yeah, this is a longer episode.
But for a
Good reason. Okay, I think for our listeners, what should our challenge be?
I would like to ask you all, what helps you to connect to your intuition?
What helps you connect to your intuition? I like that one. Where in your life are you overriding your gut feeling because you're afraid it could be wrong? Like your gut is telling you one thing, but you're fearful. What if I'm wrong? That one.
Building awareness just about ways in which you are disconnected from your intuition.
Right. And your intuition is there and it's trying to speak to you, but you are too afraid to listen.
Building awareness around it and how you can show up for it is just the first steps to inviting a deeper knowing.
Yeah. Okay. That concludes this episode on the High Priestess. Don't forget to leave us a review if you like our podcast. And we're on Instagram. We are on TikTok at Heart on the Table Pod. Don't forget to give us a follow if you enjoy listening. And we will catch you next week in the episode about the Empress. Thank you so much for joining us in today's conversation. We hope this space offered you a spark of meaning, a reminder of your own strength, or simply the comfort of knowing you're not alone in the messy middle of becoming.
If you enjoyed this episode, we'd love for you to share it with a friend, subscribe, or leave us a review. It helps this little community grow.
You can also find us on Instagram and TikTok at Heart on the Table Pod, where we share more reflections, tarot pulls, and behind-the-scenes glimpses of the podcast.
Until next time, may you keep noticing the magic woven into your everyday life.
Please remember, while we are both licensed clinicians, this podcast is not therapy and does not create a therapeutic relationship. The conversation's here for educational and reflective purposes only. If you are seeking mental health support, we encourage you to connect with a licensed provider in your area. Thanks for listening.